and welcome to the first session in our 6-week series of Coffee and Conversations. This week's topic is Parent to Teacher, Finding Balance, Not Burnout. My name is Nicole Wells, and I am the System of Care Project Director at the Achievement Center, and I'm really excited to share this time with you. You know, oftentimes I've said that the second you become a parent, you should really be granted a nursing license, a degree in teaching, sainthood even. I mean, because let's think about the amount of patience that it requires to raise a child, all while we somehow still manage to be some sort of resemblance of the human that we were even before we had children. But when I said all that, I didn't really mean that I wanted to actually become my child's teacher, right? Among everything else that I do with them and for them, teacher wasn't something I really thought I would become. So the days of dashing from one thing to the next and constantly running late, or even feeling overwhelmed by the everyday events and surprised maybe by some of the forgotten appointments, those days are on hold because of the quarantine. But the days of modern day parenting aren't really over. They've just changed as we as parents have to adjust now to this new kind of hectic as we shift into our new roles as we become a homeschool teacher. Well, I'm here to say, fear not, there is hope. It can be done. Just with a combination of improved time management and engaged parenting, we will all get through this. And I'm here to share some tips and tricks to prevent you from getting burned out in the process. So what I hope to do in our short time together is unpack and hopefully validate that your best is always good enough, but that includes finding a balance between the roles that you play and the time that you will need to allow yourself. With all the worldwide pandemic causing everyone's lives to be turned upside down and inside out, really, within a matter of days, not only schools were hurrying to adapt, but parents were too. So whether you are a stay-at-home parent or a working parent, life changed drastically. I'm not sure if you're experiencing the same kind of challenges or even joys as I am as a work-from-home parent, but I'm very quickly realizing that this quarantine has made everything a bit more challenging. I mean, especially the kids are all cooped up inside all day long with overflowing amounts of energy. And the one thing I'd like to encourage all of you to do is to look for the silver lining. By this, I really mean to try to find the good or the joy that comes with all things quarantine related. Learning to laugh or lighten the mood in periods of stress or transition will help keep you sane. And having a good sense of humor really is the key to it all. So I want to start by sharing some things that I found funny, and I hope that you do too. And what I'm about to share now are some tweets from Twitter that parents have made during the quarantine about their new role as their child's teacher. So, all right, so the first man writes, homeschool day one, wondering how I can get this kid transferred out of my class. So already, first day of homeschooling their child during quarantine and feeling a little bit frustrated. The next person writes, the best thing about homeschooling is that now I can add "I'll fail you" to my repertoire of empty parenting threats. This father writes, if you had asked me what the hardest part of battling a global pandemic would be, I would have never guessed it would be teaching elementary school math, right? I don't know about any of you, but when my kids come to me often and ask for help with math, I say, I don't really know. You're going to have to teach it to me before I can help you with this assignment, because that is not how they taught me math back in the day, right? This mother writes, here's my toddler's homeschooling schedule. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., we watch Frozen. 10 a.m. to noon, we watch Frozen Part 2, and then lunch, right? So doing whatever you need to do to really just get through the day. This mother writes on quarantine day 11, my kids are playing outside, washing rocks from the landscaping. One of them is naked. Right, hashtag really killing this mom thing, huh? His father writes, hard to imagine how my kids were ever able to survive regular school days without 23 snacks. I found this one quite funny because if your house is anything like my house, my grocery bill has been through the roof. The last one I'll share with you is a mom who writes, substitute homeschool teacher needed for the remainder of the COVID-19 school year. Sincerely, one tired mom. The funny thing about this one is someone commented, it's literally only been 2 days. And so she was feeling that frustrated after just 2 days of homeschooling her kid. I think my point here is really you're not alone. If you're out there killing it and feeling good about the way that you've been handling your roles, awesome. I really envy you because it's not easy. But if you're a little bit more stressed out about all the tasks that you need to do every day, hopefully you'll realize that lots of parents are feeling the highs and lows of the shift from parent to teacher. And the last one I'll share. So with the shift of learning coming into the home, there are definitely some things that we recommend parents do. So what I'm about to do right now is just share 8 tips for teaching your child from home. And hopefully you'll find 2 or 3 of them that you can implement into your daily schedules to just help things run a little bit more smoothly. So first, create and keep a schedule. A schedule creates expectations throughout the day. It doesn't matter if your schedule is all academics all the time or if you barely open a book. Kids benefit from knowing what to expect throughout the day. So make a schedule that works for you and for your child. If you need to work from home at a certain time, that might be a good time for you to give your child a quiet break or an activity that they can do independently. Kids really thrive on having set routines. So right now they might be struggling with the lack of structure that they're experiencing by not being in school. So try your best to give your kids consistent times for going to sleep, waking up, having meals or snacks, learning, having playtime, or any other activities that they may want to engage in. We should aim for these routines to be on weekdays at minimum. The weekends are a little bit more relaxed. But being able to predict what's going to happen next will help minimize any stress that the kids might be experiencing and hopefully eliminate or minimize any outbursts for attention. So this will also help you figure out exactly what the best times are for you to get your work done, your housework, your meetings maybe for work, or even have some alone time to decompress. But make sure these routines are set up with clear expectations. Next, have a morning meeting. Get the whole family on the same page from the start of the day. Morning meetings are often a staple of classrooms across the country, and it's a great time to go over the schedule for the day, to discuss the weather, maybe talk about a COVID-19 update, talk about how the day before went, what you liked and what you'd like to see differently today. And then to remind the kids of any behavior expectations that you have for them. Next, create a behavior expectation and say it out loud. I think oftentimes we as parents have these expectations in our heads about how we want our children to behave, but we fail to communicate that to them. So make sure you let them know what you expect out of them for the day. Maybe you want to have a system that your children can follow. Let them know how you expect them to behave, and then allow them to understand the consequences behind that. So these could be logical consequences that reinforce themselves, or they could be things like positive praise, or you can develop a full-blown behavior management system that has points or stickers or really anything that allows kids to reflect on their positive and negative behaviors and choices throughout the day. Next, when teaching from home, it's really important to provide a model. So your kids have a lot of new assignments. They might be learning a new lesson. It's really helpful that we as a parent and / teacher to them teach them the problem or the assignment first, and then we coach them along as they complete the assignment, and then we watch them complete the assignment or the problem on their own, and we cheer on their accomplishments. This is a really good tool to use just to help build confidence and to eliminate any frustration they might have about learning new lessons for their schoolwork. Next, ask for help. Don't be afraid to reach out to teachers or other parents. Your school is here to support you. So if you have problems understanding the academics your child is working on, don't hesitate to reach out to the school or another parent for clarification. Number 6, have snacks or meals often. This is a really good opportunity when we have all this extra time on our hands to make time to cook. It's a great life skill that the kids need to learn. So take them up on that opportunity. But kids and adults really are infinitely better at self-regulating when our blood sugar is level and we're well hydrated. So if you can, keep water within reach and snacks on standby. And if your kids are eating you out of house and home like mine are, don't be afraid to reach out to the school for resources. Many of them are providing free meals every day and bags for weekend food for through the food bank. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask if that's a need of yours. Next, honor their feelings. Just understand that kids are going through a challenging time as well. This is a time of immense change, and the kids are going to struggle with not seeing their friends or their teachers, their coaches, or even being able to play sports with their teammates. So just be mindful that we as adults are not the only ones feeling this. The kiddos are going through it too. And lastly, be kind to yourself. Not everything will go smoothly, and that's really okay. There is no other job besides teaching where we receive performance feedback on a consistent basis. And what other person to give you that feedback than your own child, right, on how you're performing for the day. But it's really okay if you need to sneak off to the bathroom for phone time or put the kids in front of the TV for however long you need to reboot and recharge. And when you're away, just ask yourself, are the kids relatively happy? Are they safe? Are they fed? Because if so, I think you're doing a great job and they're really lucky to have you. So now let's move on to some techniques to avoid getting burned out. I'd like to share with you 3 lifestyle changes that will help with time management and ultimately lead to lower stress levels and more happiness. But before I share them, I want you to recognize that these aren't something that you can do all 3 at once. So try to focus on just one at a time, because I don't want anyone to feel like they're losing steam or energy or even become hopeless that you can't get this accomplished. So be gentle with yourself and just try to do one change at a time. First, focus on transitions. Transitioning from family life to working world, and from early morning cups of coffee to having to wake up the children to start your day, from checking your work emails to reviewing the homework assignments for the day, from reading stories at bedtime to preparing for the next day's meetings. Life as a parent is filled with transitions, so make them count in a big way by being fully present and engaged with your children. Put down the phone, silence the email alerts, and just really focus on being there with them. Next, children are more likely to cooperate when they feel a sense of connection and closeness with their parent. So focus on drawing firm lines around parenting time. Forget about emails or the mountain of laundry that needs done, and just fully connect with your child through eye contact and positive body language, because doing this will really open up opportunities for more connection and less misbehavior. So we like to call this focus on the connection, the quality of it, and not the quantity of time that you spend. Next, share the load and learn to say no. Asking for help can be a big deal for people, but I think now more than ever, it's really important that we learn how to ask for help. So as parents, we can be really hard on ourselves sometimes. Sometimes we want to make life super easy for the kids so that things go as smooth as possible. Other times we put maybe not age appropriate expectations on the kiddos, but being busy and having meaningful work and pursuing outside interests can really nourish you and your child and your whole family. So learn to invite kids to help with chores, to participate in self-care activities, and to really help with the regular routines around the house. But if you do this, just be mindful that you'll have to learn to love your child's standards of completing chores, knowing that maybe over time, as they practice the chore, they'll become faster and they'll get more efficient at doing it. But if we, we want to avoid criticism because we don't want to squash their desire to want to help in the future. So just be aware that sharing the load with our kids and teaching them valuable life lessons like how to do chores is a really, really big thing for them. And lastly, don't neglect your self-care routines. You'll do your best work and your best job for your family and for your children if you, first and foremost, are taking care of yourself. So make sure that you're making time for you and don't make excuses on why that time isn't happening. Before we end, I just wanted to mention some resources in case you or your child are struggling during this pandemic or just in need of additional supports in general, or even know a family member or friend who you think could benefit from some additional supports. Start with your school. School communities have a lot of resources already linked to them, so don't be afraid to reach out to a guidance counselor or someone that you trust at the school to find out what they might have available to you. Next, just noting that the Achievement Center is here to help children and families in whatever way that we possibly can. So don't be afraid to reach out to our intake department just to explore options and services and supports that exist for you. The United Way of Erie County has a system called 211. You can text it, you can call it, you can surf their website. It has a great hub of resources for anything from free tax preparation to meals to shelters to clothing, really whatever you need. It's a great place to start. The Department of Human Services in Erie County launched a website called Erie Sprout. You can go ahead and Google that. It also has a plethora of resources around mental health services for children and adults, for drug and alcohol services, for homeless shelters, just an array of things that exist for formal supports out there in the county for children and youth and adults, I'm sorry. Erie County Care Management and Community Care Behavioral Health are two gatekeepers that are really good resources if you don't know where to start or you're unsure if something may be covered by your insurance. So don't be afraid to look at their websites or to reach out to them directly. And lastly, Crisis Services at UPMC of Safe Harbor has a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week warm line, crisis line. It can be reached by calling 814-456-2014 for anybody who might be in active crisis and needing immediate services or support. Lastly, let's work together. The Achievement Center is here. We have Erie offices, Corey office, Crawford and Warren County. We service all of them. So if you are in need of support for you or your family or your child, please don't hesitate to surf our website for the available services, to follow us on social media, or to contact one of the numbers that you see listed here. We're here to help and to help your child thrive. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Lastly, let's work together. The Achievement Center is here. Lastly, let's